They're not your kind of people. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're speaking to Garbage about their latest album. Not Your Kind of People is your first album of new material in 7 years. How would you say it represents you guys as musicians now?
We didn't really worry about what anybody else was going to think about when we made the record. There was no record company involvement or any involvement other than the four of us. So it's kind of pure in that way.
What would you say are some of the advantages and some of the challenges you've had to face when releasing this record on your own label?
We had to do a lot of work. It was quite intimidating, and we were a little scared at first because we didn't know exactly what we had to deal with. But looking at it now, when our first record came out, we were on independent labels on Mushroom and Elmo, and they were very small, and we were very hands-on with all the decision-making process. And so in a way, it's kind of gone back to how it was then, and actually we like it because we're sort of in charge. Now we are in charge of our own destiny. You know, if we want to do something, we say yes. If we don't, we just say no, and there's no one to argue except the four of us amongst ourselves.
Well, Shirley has said that the title, Not Your Kind of People, is about being outsiders and that Garbage never really belonged to any one music scene. So how would you guys explain your success?
We never really fit into, we weren't grunge, we weren't, electronica, we're just sort of a combination of everything that we love. That's kind of how we've approached life in the band. We didn't know if there was an audience out there anymore when we made this last record. And I just kind of had it, at least for me, I had it in my head that we knew that there were some really hardcore fans and that our music still meant a lot to them and they were still out there waiting for us to do something. They're kind of outsiders. And I guess that's the way we feel too, and that's kind of who we made the record for.
There's been people who have been comparing the album to your previous records. Why would you say that's so?
I think there's a vibe on Not Your Kind of People which is very reminiscent of the first album. We didn't really know what we were doing when we made our debut album, and it was kind of experimental. We basically holed up at Steve and my studio, Smart, in Madison. It was like a little clubhouse. We just wanted to make something different than the records that we had been producing, and we really started incorporating samplers and experimenting with different genres of music and blending it. But really there was a lot of playfulness and experimenting going on, and we did that a lot in Not Your Kind of People. Part of it was because we weren't signed to a label, there was no pressure or time limit. No one even knew we were really making the record when we started, except for a few close family members. And obviously the technology has changed, and the sounds of the record, maybe from an engineering standpoint, are different, but there's a vibe on Not Your Kind of People which I think is very reminiscent of our debut album.